we're meeting. This is our first time meeting. It's great.
And the main thing is that apple trees have sort of co-evolved with humans, and they don't fare well for fruit on their own. They're really in a lot of ways a human construction is the modern apple tree of the apples that you eat. And what the pruning does is it'll give you, it's for the health of the tree and for the size of the tree. You can prune for how tall you want to maintain a tree in your yard or orchard. You can, and it's also good for the fruit. If you looked at this tree last year, the past years, if you don't prune, a lot of times you get these little small fruit. You can see the one hanging on there. And so pruning also helps increase your fruit size. So you don't have to prune an apple tree, but if you want to get fruit from it and you want to get fruit of a certain quality, it's really important to prune it. And there's a lot of apple-specific things with pruning. So not all trees respond to pruning very well or respond to pruning in the same way. Apple trees have this ability to produce branches from dormant buds, or I forget what they call it. But so if you cut an apple tree right here, there's no branches, but odds are the branch is going to pop out somewhere lower on the trunk. But a lot of trees don't do that. So if you see people who like lawn mowing early on in a conifer's life, if they've mowed over the conifer, you'll see a conifer with just no top, but it'll still have the rest of the shape of the conifer. And so, especially spruce trees and stuff, but apple trees have this ability to keep pushing out branches lower and lower. And then it's kind of part of management. I mean, part of an apple tree management is you kind of prune it in the spring this time of year, and then in the summer you have to sort of thin fruit, and there's a whole kind of way of maintaining for pests and stuff too in the growing season. And when you prune is generally when the tree is dormant. So now I think is a good time to prune. You can prune. I mean, you can prune when the tree is actively growing, but it's better for the tree if you prune when it isn't growing. And how and where in the tree. And then I guess that's a lot of what this workshop is about. The other trees that are here on the site, there's some ornamental apples, which we probably won't deal with, which are these guys over here, crab apples. And they just do what they do. We're not really trying to maintain them for fruit quality, so it doesn't matter as much. There's a peach, which peaches you prune in the summer because peaches are really susceptible to diseases and their wounds are really vulnerable to fungus and all sorts of different issues. But we can walk by the peach and I'll show you in general a peach strategy. They also produce on different age part of the tree than apples. And then there's a pear, which pears don't respond as well to pruning either. Have you had much experience with pears?
Some.
But there's one pear tree, and we'll just kind of do the basic pruning, which is eliminate any branches that are crossed. But pears have a weird habit of when you cut it, it'll send out 4 or 5 branches, so they get really strange if you prune them too much. So the other thing I forgot to mention is that you also prune for shape. So it kind of has to do with light and management. So this tree has the potential to have a vase shape, and a vase shape would be, if you imagine a vase, kind of almost like a bowl shape. So if you wanted this tree to be a vase shape, you would basically cut this whole limb right out, and then you would have a tree that had sort of nothing in the middle and sort of all these branches radiating out around the side. And that's a very common way to prune apple trees. Generally, you train it when it's young. This is a tree that hasn't been, maintained a lot recently, so we're kind of doing a little bit different pruning than if you had a 2-year-old tree and you're trying to sort of shape it. The other thing it goes to too is with apple trees, you really try to train the branches. So a lot of it has to do with the weight of the fruit. So if your branches aren't structured well, then the fruit can actually break the branches. The branches are pruned and trained to carry weight. So what you're trying to do is encourage a lot of horizontal branches, and you don't want vertical growth. So a branch that's growing like this is really what you're trying to create as a scaffold. These branches that almost come out at a 90-degree angle. And when a tree is young, there are a lot of different methods you do, but you actually really try to train the tree to grow outward rather than upward. I don't know, any big things that I missed, or does that sound about right?
Just the other consideration, I try to eliminate most branches that are hanging straight down, or down. they don't bear fruit typically, and they get in the way of the layering of scaffold branches, taking off the suckers that are the new growth that's in the middle there, they go straight up.
Yeah, like this. Like these are called water spouts, and these are like one of the first things we want to get rid of.
Yeah, those are sort of when you're just kind of looking around the tree, how to open the tree up so that there's a lot of ventilation and light gets in throughout the whole tree. We worked on this last year, but obviously we took a lot out of it, but we also left a lot. So I was not very satisfied with the way this came out. But another consideration is mowing. For whoever's mowing around the tree, it's nice to have to eliminate the lower branches that get in the way of somebody. Yeah, and any branches that are broken, any branches that are crossed over and rubbing, and sort of just looking at the tree in a way that there's like two branches are occupying a space. You have to decide which branch is the best one to occupy that space. And what else?
Yeah, because I'd say for us it's really about light and air is like some of the main things. So, and then because these trees are so big, we really kind of have to concentrate on thinking about the large shape first, and then you work down to the small stuff. So right here, these two branches are rubbing, and we're probably not going to, we'll see if we get to that, but really like this would be pretty low on the priority because there's so much of the tree to deal with. But at the same time, this is the kind of thing, we can just clip it off, but you're kind of making a call. Do you want to keep this branch, or do you want to keep this branch? And so this branch is coming into the sort of airspace of this branch, and so you kind of have to make a call. Which one is going to give you better long-term fruit? And I would say we probably remove this because this one seems to have a better form. Does that seem about right to you?
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing we did a little bit last week, talked quite a bit about was making good cuts is really important. Because you walk around, you see somebody who's been pruning who's never done it much, and they leave stubs. And if you notice, usually the next year those stubs are dead and they're prone to disease. They don't heal well. So being smart about how you're cutting, and you're basically trying to redirect energy from down that limb. If it was me, I would eliminate this because it's going up into this space. So I would take that right off there. That's a big, healthy, strong limb.
Can you mention where you would cut from on top?
Yeah, this here.
Yeah, just talk about the.
Yeah, I would cut just a little bit above this intersection. If it's heavy, you would take this weight off first, so there's no chance of it tearing. But try to minimize it too. Hey, I just noticed your saw there. Those are great saws.
I stole it from
There's a couple of tools that are really good.
Every single branch have a color.
the bigger they get, the more likely they are to have them. I mean, you can see them more on the larger branches, and as they get more and more slender and the newer growth, it's not as visible. Some of the ones.
And then, so you can see this is a bad cut right here.
That's all one growth.
Where this one, if you guys can come here, you see that this isn't close to an intersection and it's all dead and frayed. So this would have been a bad cut. So then you just kind of clean that up and then take this.
Who did that?
Who did that?
I know. Your name's all over it.
It's the Regina.
And then take this.
Do you have any experience
And then the
with
water
collar
spout.
cuts that continuously sprout things every year?
You mean down low?
Yeah, that keep coming up like
That's the rootstock. So then,
One thing is, it's pretty hard to kill an apple tree, and don't sweat it too much. Make good cuts, and have a basic, basic idea of eliminating broken stuff that's rubbing, and just try to open the tree up. But don't agonize over this branch or that branch. I mean, just make a quick decision about. Try to make the branches go out into space.
and I would think it's always a little bit shocking when you've done a good job. It's like you're a little freaked out about how much you've actually taken off. It's usually more than less, I think.